Y'all know me. I've been faced with battles in my life, but nothing like this.
Ronnie Coleman went from 8-time Mr. Olympia to barely recognizable after losing most of his muscle mass. And he's not the only one. Paul Dillett's six-pack turned into a dad bod. Kenneth Flex Wheeler lost a leg. In this video, we're diving into bodybuilders who lost it all after retirement. Let's begin with Tom Prince. Tom Prince stood as one of the most respected figures in professional bodybuilding during the late 1990s and early 2000s, earning admiration not just for his incredible physique, but for his genuine, humble personality that earned him the nickname the Gentle Giant. Standing tall with a massive, dense frame that seemed carved from granite, Prince possessed the rare combination of size and conditioning that made him a formidable competitor on any stage. Prince claimed victory at the 1997 NPC Nationals overall title, a triumph that catapulted him into the professional ranks where he would make his mark as one of the sport's most consistent performers. His competitive peak came at the 2001 Mr. Olympia, where he placed an impressive third, standing alongside legends like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler on bodybuilding's most prestigious stage. However, tragedy struck at the height of his career. In 2001, the same year as his Olympia success, Prince's world came crashing down when he was diagnosed with a rare and devastating condition. His career was abruptly cut short due to kidney failure caused by focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, a condition that attacks the kidney's filtering units and was potentially exacerbated by the extreme demands of his bodybuilding lifestyle. The diagnosis marked the beginning of a long, arduous battle that would define the rest of his life. In 2012, hope seemed to arrive when Prince underwent a kidney transplant, a procedure that offered the possibility of returning to a more normal life. However, the transplant failed in 2014, forcing Prince back onto dialysis, a procedure that would become a regular part of his routine for the remainder of his life. The physical toll of dialysis and his deteriorating health became increasingly apparent. The massive, powerful physique that had once been his trademark began to waste away as his body struggled to cope with the demands of his condition. He could no longer train with the intensity that had made him a champion, and maintaining his competitive mass became impossible. Despite his physical decline, Prince's spirit remained unbroken, shifting his focus to coaching and business ventures. The final chapter of Prince's story came in 2022, when Prince passed away at the age of 52 from cancer, a battle unrelated to his kidney disease, but one that his already weakened body couldn't overcome. Up next is another bodybuilder whose intense training and health issues cost him the physique he once worked so hard for: Ronnie Coleman. When discussing the greatest bodybuilders of all time, one name inevitably rises above all others: Ronnie Coleman. Known simply as the King, Coleman's dominance in professional bodybuilding remains unmatched, with 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles from 1998 to 2005 that revolutionized the sport and established new standards for size and conditioning that seemed almost superhuman. Coleman's approach to training was as legendary as his physique. He famously lifted weights that defied comprehension, regularly squatting over 800 pounds and deadlifting massive loads that would challenge powerlifters, all while maintaining the aesthetic qualities required for bodybuilding success. His signature catchphrase, "Yeah, buddy," became synonymous with hardcore training, and his videos inspired countless athletes to push their limits in pursuit of greatness. However, the very intensity that made Coleman great also planted the seeds of his eventual downfall. Coleman's retirement in 2007 stemmed from cumulative injuries from his extreme heavy lifting regimen, including those devastating squats that had become his trademark. The extent of Coleman's physical deterioration post-retirement is nothing short of shocking. He has undergone 13 surgeries, 8 on his back, 3 on his neck, and 2 hip replacements, a medical history that reads like a catalog of orthopedic disasters. Post-retirement, Coleman had to relearn how to walk due to nerve damage and chronic pain, a humbling experience for someone who had once been the epitome of physical perfection. In recent years, he has credited stem cell therapy for providing some relief by 2025, though the improvements are modest compared to the extent of his injuries. The physical transformation of Coleman's physique has been as dramatic as it is heartbreaking. His once massive frame has severely diminished, with muscle loss particularly noticeable in his legs, and he now relies on crutches or a wheelchair at times. Despite his physical limitations, Coleman's spirit remains unbroken. Coleman maintains that the cost was worth it, expressing no regrets about the path he chose, even knowing the ultimate price he would pay. Unlike Coleman's issues from intense training, Paul Dillett's problems stemmed from a different physical crisis that led to long-term decline. Paul Dillett. In the annals of bodybuilding history, few figures have captured the imagination quite like Paul Dillett, a man whose towering presence and extreme physique earned him the unforgettable nickname, the Freak. Standing at an imposing 6'1", Dillett possessed a combination of size, height, and vascularity that made him a truly unique presence in the sport during the 1990s. His best competitive showing came at the 1999 Mr. Olympia, where he placed 4th. a remarkable achievement that demonstrated his ability to compete with the sport's elite. His physique was characterized by extreme vascularity and a freaky level of conditioning that seemed almost otherworldly, making him a fan favorite and a photographer's dream. However, Dillett's career was also marked by one of the most infamous incidents in bodybuilding history. At the 1994 Arnold Classic, he suffered a dramatic on-stage collapse due to severe dehydration and muscle cramps, an event that was captured on film and remains one of the most shocking moments ever witnessed in competitive bodybuilding. This incident served as a harbinger of the physical problems that would eventually force him from competitive bodybuilding. As Dillett's career progressed, chronic knee problems began to take their toll. The knee problems and related injuries ultimately forced his retirement around 2006, ending what had been a remarkable but physically demanding career. Post-retirement, he found a new role, transitioning to promoting the WBFF, World Beauty Fitness and Fashion Federation, where he could remain connected to the sport. However, the chronic knee issues continued to limit his training capabilities, preventing him from maintaining the intense workout regimens that had built his legendary physique. By the mid-2010s, Dillett had shed much of his competitive mass, appearing noticeably smaller in public appearances, though he continued to maintain some level of fitness through lighter workouts. Unlike Dillett's gradual decline, Jean-Pierre Fuchs's career was ended by a single, devastating injury. Jean-Pierre Fuchs. Jean-Pierre Fuchs represented the epitome of European bodybuilding excellence during the 1990s and early 2000s, carrying the hopes and dreams of Swiss bodybuilding fans as he competed on the world's biggest stages. Known for his massive legs and impressive overall size, Fuchs carved out a reputation as one of the most powerful and imposing figures in professional bodybuilding. His best showing came at the 1996 Arnold Classic, where he placed 7th, a remarkable achievement that demonstrated his ability to compete with the sport's top tier. His physique was characterized by incredible leg development that many considered among the best in the sport, combined with an overall mass that made him a formidable presence on any stage. However, Fuchs's career and life would be forever changed by a single, catastrophic moment. In 2002, during a Flex magazine photo shoot, disaster struck when Fuchs collapsed under a 675-pound squat, an incident that would effectively end his competitive career and alter the trajectory of his life forever.
As I was in a 90-degree angle to come back up, the amount of weight felt like I had a mountain on my shoulders. It was crushing me, just standing there like an evil force. And as I went down, my left quad above the knee tore completely.
The injury was devastating in its scope and severity. Fuchs tore both quadriceps tendons and suffered severe knee damage, injuries that would require multiple surgeries and extensive rehabilitation. For a man whose legs had been his greatest asset, this type of injury was particularly cruel, attacking the very foundation of his competitive advantage. Post-injury, Fuchs underwent multiple surgeries, each one an attempt to repair the catastrophic damage to his lower body. His recovery period severely limited his ability to train heavily, resulting in dramatic muscle loss, particularly in his lower body where the injury had occurred. By 2020, he had undergone additional knee surgery, indicating that his problems persisted well into his post-competitive years. He has appeared much smaller in recent years, focusing on coaching and lighter fitness rather than attempting to rebuild his pro-level mass. This next bodybuilder's transformation was different from Fuchs's. His was a conscious decision, not the result of injury. Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates stands as one of the most influential figures in bodybuilding history, a man who didn't just dominate the sport, but fundamentally changed how people thought about training and intensity. Known as the Shadow, Yates claimed 6 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles from 1992 to 1997, ushering in what many consider the mass monster era of bodybuilding. He pioneered the application of high-intensity training, HIT, to bodybuilding, proving that brief, intensely focused workouts could produce superior results compared to the higher volume approaches favored by most of his contemporaries. His physique was characterized by incredible density, granite-like conditioning, and a level of muscular detail that seemed almost otherworldly. He retired after the 1997 competition due to a torn triceps and other accumulated injuries, recognizing that his body had reached its breaking point. What makes Yates's post-retirement transformation unique is that his physical decline was largely by choice rather than medical necessity. Following his retirement, Yates underwent a dramatic philosophical shift, embracing spirituality, psychedelics, and yoga, representing a complete departure from the intense, laser-focused mindset that had made him a champion. Yates deliberately reduced his heavy lifting to prioritize mental health and longevity, recognizing that the extreme intensity was not sustainable in the long term. By the 2010s, Yates had lost over 100 pounds from his peak contest weight of 260 pounds. a transformation that shocked many in the bodybuilding community. However, Yates' story is not one of decline, but of conscious evolution, reflecting a deliberate choice to prioritize different aspects of health and well-being. As of 2025, Yates maintains a fit physique through moderate training, but his focus has shifted from building maximum muscle mass to maintaining functional fitness and mental clarity. He emphasizes holistic wellness over size, sharing his journey with others. Unlike Yates's voluntary transformation, our next subject, Flex Wheeler, would face involuntary health battles that would challenge both his physique and his very survival. Kenneth Flex Wheeler. In the pantheon of bodybuilding legends, few names evoke the same combination of awe and tragedy as Kenneth Flex Wheeler. Known as the Sultan of Symmetry, Wheeler represented the aesthetic ideal of bodybuilding, possessing a physique that seemed to have been crafted by the gods themselves. His flowing lines, perfect proportions, and incredible conditioning made him one of the most photographed and admired bodybuilders of all time. He claimed victory at 4 Arnold Classic competitions, 1993, 1997, 1998, 2000, establishing himself as one of the most successful competitors in the history of that prestigious event. His battles with the sports elite, particularly his rivalry with Dorian Yates, provided some of the most memorable moments in bodybuilding history. However, Wheeler's story takes a tragic turn, with a diagnosis that would change everything. In 1999, he was diagnosed with focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, a rare kidney disease that attacks the organ's filtering units and can lead to complete kidney failure. The kidney disease was possibly linked to steroid use, though the exact cause remained a subject of debate. He managed to continue his career until 2003, when the progression of his disease finally forced him to step away from competitive bodybuilding. Following his retirement, he underwent a kidney transplant in 2003, a procedure that offered hope for a return to better health. Unfortunately, Wheeler's health problems were far from over. Complications persisted, ultimately leading to a partial leg amputation in 2019 due to circulatory issues, a devastating development that shocked the bodybuilding world. His once symmetrical aesthetic physique has undergone drastic changes, with significant muscle loss resulting from dialysis, surgeries, and reduced training capacity. Despite these overwhelming challenges, he now focuses on inspiration and coaching while managing his chronic health challenges. While Wheeler's decline was caused by kidney disease, our next subject would face a completely different medical emergency that would threaten not just his career, but his ability to walk. Chris Cormier. Chris Cormier earned his nickname The Real Deal through years of consistent, high-level competition that established him as one of the most reliable and skilled bodybuilders of his generation. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Cormier was a fixture on the professional bodybuilding circuit, known for his incredible work ethic, professional demeanor, and ability to bring his best package to every competition. He won the 1999 Ironman Pro, a victory that demonstrated his ability to defeat world-class competition when everything came together perfectly. Throughout his career, he was a consistent top 10 finisher at Mr. Olympia competitions, regularly placing among the sport's elite and earning the respect of his peers through his professionalism and dedication. However, Cormier's career and life were forever changed by a medical emergency that struck without warning. In 2006, he suffered a severe spinal infection that required emergency surgery, a life-threatening condition that brought his competitive career to an abrupt and dramatic end. The spinal infection required hospitalization for 2 months, a period during which his survival was uncertain and his future was completely unknown. Following his surgery and extended hospitalization, Cormier had to relearn how to walk, a humbling experience for someone who had spent his career mastering the art of physical perfection. The severity of his condition forced him to retire in 2007, ending what had been a remarkable and consistent career. He lost much of his muscle mass due to limited mobility and the long recovery process, transforming from a world-class competitor to someone struggling with basic physical functions. Despite these challenges, he has shifted his focus to coaching, using his extensive knowledge and experience to help the next generation. He appears noticeably smaller in recent years, but maintains some definition through lighter training, adapted to his physical capabilities. Unlike Cormier's sudden change due to health issues, Bob Paris chose to leave bodybuilding on his own terms while still in his prime. Bob Paris. Bob Paris occupies a unique place in bodybuilding history, representing not just physical excellence, but also courage, authenticity, and the willingness to stand for principles that extend far beyond the gym. Known for his classical, aesthetic physique that harkened back to the golden age of bodybuilding, Paris combined incredible physical gifts with intellectual depth and social consciousness. He won the 1983 NPC Nationals and placed 7th at the 1984 Mr. Olympia, establishing himself as one of the premier aesthetic bodybuilders of his era. His physique was characterized by perfect proportions, incredible symmetry, and a classical beauty that set him apart from many of his more mass-focused contemporaries. What made Paris truly special was his approach to bodybuilding as an art form. He viewed his physique not just as a collection of muscles, but as a work of living sculpture, emphasizing the importance of proportion, flow, and aesthetic beauty over pure size. However, Paris's career was marked by more than just physical achievements. In 1989, he made the courageous decision to come out as gay, becoming one of the first openly gay professional athletes in any sport. He felt that his sexuality had biased judgment against him, believing that some judges allowed their personal prejudices to influence their scoring. These factors led to Paris's decision to retire from competitive bodybuilding. He retired in 1991, stepping away from the sport while still in his physical prime. He pursued writing, acting, and modeling, using his intelligence, charisma, and physical presence to build a new career in entertainment and media. By the 2010s, he had lost his competitive size but remained fit and lean well into his 60s, maintaining a level of fitness that most men half his age would envy. He emphasized natural fitness approaches, even writing books like Natural Fitness that shared his insights about maintaining health without extreme measures. Unlike Paris's intentional exit, Günter Schlierkamp stepped away from competition due to waning motivation, yet still maintained a strong physique. Günter Schlierkamp. Günter Schlierkamp stood as one of the most beloved figures in professional bodybuilding during the late 1990s and early 2000s, earning affection from fans not just for his impressive physique, but for his gentle demeanor and sportsmanlike conduct. At 6'1" tall, the German competitor possessed a combination of size and personality that made him a standout in a sport often dominated by more intense personalities. His most famous victory came at the 2002 GNC Show of Strength, where he famously defeated Ronnie Coleman, one of the few men who could claim to have beaten the King during his prime. He placed 5th at the 2005 Mr. Olympia, a remarkable achievement that showed his ability to compete with the world's elite. However, Schlierkamp's career began to face challenges as the sport evolved, and his own motivation began to wane. He retired in 2006 after struggling with conditioning and motivation, recognizing that he could no longer maintain the extreme dedication required to compete at the highest level. Unlike many others on this list, Schlierkamp's post-retirement transformation has been more gradual and less dramatic. Following his retirement, he initially experienced some muscle loss, as is natural for any athlete who steps away from extreme training regimens. However, his decline was not as severe as many others who faced injury or illness. He has since maintained an impressive, though reduced physique through coaching and occasional updates, showing that with proper attention to training and nutrition, it's possible to age gracefully. At 52 in 2022, he showed jacked arms but not his peak 300-pound mass, demonstrating that while he may not maintain his competitive size, he has successfully adapted his training and lifestyle. Schlierkamp's smooth transition to life after competition stands in sharp contrast to this next bodybuilder, whose sudden disappearance from the sport led to one of the most dramatic physical transformations on our list: Mustafa Muhammad. Mustafa Muhammad represents one of the more enigmatic figures in professional bodybuilding, a competitor whose sporadic appearances and eventual disappearance from the sport created an air of mystery that persists to this day. As a Jordanian-Austrian competitor, Muhammad brought international diversity to the professional ranks during an era when the sport was becoming increasingly global. He competed sporadically from 1989 to 2006, with long gaps between competitions that left fans and fellow competitors wondering about his status and intentions. His best showing came at the 2003 Mr. Olympia, where he placed 10th, demonstrating that he possessed the size and quality necessary to compete with the world's best. However, Muhammad's inconsistent participation in the sport created challenges for his development and career trajectory. His retirement was attributed to inconsistent participation and lack of heavy training, suggesting that he may never have been fully committed to the extreme lifestyle required for consistent success in professional bodybuilding. What makes Muhammad's story particularly intriguing is what happened after his retirement. Following his retirement, Muhammad vanished from the bodybuilding scene for years, creating a mystery about his whereabouts and activities that persisted for an extended period. This disappearance was unusual, even in a sport where many competitors fade into obscurity after retiring. Eventually, Muhammad resurfaced, but the circumstances of his reappearance revealed the extent of his physical transformation. He re-emerged much smaller after managing a gym in Vienna, showing that his years away from the sport had resulted in significant changes to his physique and lifestyle. He showed significant muscle loss attributed to reduced resistance work, indicating that his years away from serious training had taken their toll on his once impressive physique. The thick, powerful build that had carried him to a top 10 Olympia finish had largely disappeared, replaced by a much more ordinary appearance. While Muhammad quietly faded from the spotlight, this next bodybuilder stayed front and center, but not without his own dramatic transformation. Dave Palumbo. Dave Palumbo, a well-known bodybuilder, has undergone significant changes in his physique since his competitive days. Palumboism, a condition characterized by a bloated belly, has affected his appearance and is common among bodybuilders who have used certain substances like HGH and insulin. This condition has contributed to a noticeable difference in his physique compared to his bodybuilding days. Palumbo's diet plays a crucial role in his current physique. He follows a high-protein, moderate-fat, and low-carbohydrate diet, which forces his body to burn fat for energy. However, he also indulges in cheat meals like McDonald's, which can impact his metabolism and lead to weight gain. This balance between strict dieting and indulgence reflects the challenges of maintaining a physique after years of intense bodybuilding. As Palumbo has aged, his body has naturally undergone changes. He has discussed the challenges of maintaining a physique after 40 and the importance of adapting to age-related changes. Despite these challenges, Palumbo continues to prioritize his health and fitness, albeit with a different focus and approach than during his competitive days. Palumbo's current ventures have shifted away from professional bodybuilding. Instead, he focuses on writing and creating content for his company, RX Muscle, where he shares his expertise and experiences with others. Through interviews and podcasts, Palumbo provides insights into his life, fitness, and the bodybuilding industry. While Palumbo's body shape may not be the same as it was during his competitive days, his dedication to health and fitness remains evident. His journey reflects the complexities of maintaining a physique over time and the importance of finding a balance that works for individual lifestyles and goals. These transformations illustrate the realities of life after bodybuilding, a trade-off between peak performance and long-term well-being. While Ray, Palumbo, and Rule have all downsized, they've channeled their passion into new avenues, proving that retirement doesn't end their impact on the fitness world. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.